Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first part of this interview with our FCI directors. And today I have the honor of having Senor Rafael de Santiago from Puerto Rico join us. Hi, Rafael. How are you?
Fine, Gopi. How are you?
Really good. Thank you. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well.
I'm feeling much better now. Believe me. This cold is killing me. It's been with me for the last 3 weeks.
Okay. So let's get started. How long have you been the director of the FCI?
Well, as far as the director and such, I got elected to the board in 1999 in Mexico after the World War.
Excellent. And you've served continuously since then, right? Is that correct?
In the board, because Puerto Rico was a member in 1939.
Okay, excellent. And in your years in the FCI, do you think that the organization has evolved into more of a political organization to defend and to preserve what we love and what we want to do because of what is going on around us?
Well, honestly, Gopi, sometimes you feel frustrated because I don't think we have the force between the people, between the citizens to really act on behalf of the dogs. And sometimes you want to do more, but some local governments are against what you try to do. So you have to surrender the local legislation in order to try to achieve what you really want to do. I wish we could be owners of our own standards instead of having the kennel club being the owners of the standards. Because this way, we will just change or improve and let the country know, and that's it. This way we cannot do it because if it's protected by the political legislation of our country, we have to surrender to it. And that's the issue in many cases.
So do you think because of that, our role has changed a little bit from to a more defensive one?
I do think that we have more, but it has to be more aggressive.
Okay. So you feel that we need to step it up?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And mainly pressure from these outside organizations that do not understand or are against pedigree dogs, would you say?
Yeah, there are many organizations against pedigree dogs. There are many organizations that understand, but we cannot really grasp the problem because it's not our way of doing things with the countries. The countries are responsible for the standing, and it's sometimes very hard. Imagine when the countries have to start implementing the new recommendation of age years that cannot be cropped. It's going to be lost to the local. A lot of people will not be able to. I mean, if they are not prepared now, they will not have time in order to go on more instructions in the newcomers.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Okay, and would you feel that one of the solutions to this would be to educate the members of the public who are dog-loving, pedigree dog-loving people, and get them on side to understand the issues from our perspective?
My point of view, that would be the beginning of a big change, addressing all our problems to the audience, not only to the breeders.
Okay.
Because the breeders they know what's going on, and they know they're going to be hurt.
Okay. And so what do you think the future holds for us? Where do you see us in 20 years time as an organization or as a hobby?
Well, I think that our hobby will not be growing as fast as we want to. I think that we're in a stance right now, and it will take longer to get out of it. Also, with so many legislation and so many uh, anti uh, animal, so many lovers, which are they are against the standards because they want to have their own uh, painted poodle or whatever it is, and that doesn't never do we agree with ESCI.
Okay, so in 20 years time, you see growth, but very slowly,
I see growth but very slowly, if at all.
if at all. Okay, do you see it going backwards?
I hope not, but I suppose if it doesn't change a bit, it's going to go stance. It's going to stay static. And that means it's going down.
Okay, what can we do you feel to counter this then? If you as you feel this way, what do you think we can do?
Well, we have to start a fight, not a fight, but we have to start a campaign or we have to start, yes, a campaign, educational campaign in order to show the public or the readers, or not the readers because the readers know what we have, but the public, what is the problem? All these dogs, the TikToks are hurting us a lot, believe me. There's not a day that I don't get a call from people that, oh, okay, it's a poodle, white and blue, and how to be shown, or some other combination of breed or color. They are anxious to have innovation. You cannot give them innovation with the standards as they are.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed our brief chat. I hope you have too. Do you have anything to add to that, or are you good?
No, I wish. I love the SCI. I'm committed to the SCI for many years, and I would hate to have something happen that will stack the growth of our organization. I also believe that the groups of the FCI and the sections are going through a hard period of time because of what all is happening with the purebred dogs, not the boutique dogs. It's very hard for them, for us, to compete against that. And believe me, there is this market that is growing so fast, so fast. It is sometimes it's terrifying to see the results in inscriptions, registrations. The ACI says it's not a static. The ACI has changed very much since I joined them, since I joined the organization. I believe that I'm happy with it because none of it was not my fault. Or I tried to implement some ideas that will help the organization to move forward. They're doing it. And also, I hope, really hope that the youth, the creation of the SCI youth, which was my idea since the very beginning, will develop further. And now, finally, we have become a force because now they're recognized officially. But I hope that they can present ideas and attract more young people, young professionals, because the 6 years old and the 8 years old are good, but that's in the growth period. But in working period, pacifically change things. We need dog officials. I don't think we're giving enough attention.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's the youth that, because it's, they're the ones that are going to carry this forward, and if they're not involved,
Yeah.
it's going to be impossible to. So now that we have more interaction from them, more ideas from them, I think that would definitely help the organization for sure.
Yes. Yes.
It's a wonderful
Yes.
step forward. Thank you again, Rafael. I hope you keep well, and this cold that you're having, you manage to get rid of it.
I hope so, because if not, I also been in the hospital for a week.
Okay. All right. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank
And
you.
nice
Thank
to meet
you.
you. Okay. Bye bye. So welcome back, everyone.
Okay.
And I'm privileged to have Mrs. Carla Molinari all the way from Portugal with us. She's currently a director of the FCI General Committee. And so I'd like to ask her the questions that I've prepared for the three directors. Hi, Carla, and welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Gopi. Hi, Gopi. Thank you for having me.
No, it's
Very
a
happy
pleasure.
to be here.
Okay, so let's get started. How long have you been a director of the FCI?
I have been a director of the FCI for a long time in two separate parts.
Okay.
Because I was elected in 1987 for a 12-year period.
Okay.
And then I stayed 12 years out, and then now I'm again 12 years. So it's 23 years period that I have been the director, but over 45 years, something like that. I mean, it's not
Okay.
been like a non-stop situation. We are elected every 4 years, and
Right. Okay. So
elections are elections. You never know.
Yeah. So you've been there. You've been there a fair while. So that's good. And with a bit of a break in between, which is always nice as well to step away from it. So in your years as in Pedigree Dogs and as a board member, do you think the FCI has evolved the organization? Or do you think that, more specifically, have we moved away from the building blocks of promoting pedigree dogs into more of a political organization in some ways to fight for what we believe in, to protect and to continue with what we've started?
Well, you see, as I said, two periods of 12 years and separated by 11, that has given me a vision that is very complete. And
Okay.
when I first started as a member of the board, the FCI was very much Europe-based, Europe-minded. Everything that was the rule was the European type of breeding dogs and showing dogs, and all the regulations were very close into a very German, French way of seeing dogs of that period. That was the FCI of the end of last century. And over the second period I was there, then it was 11 period gap. Of course, the FCI was already adapting into a new way of doing things.
Right.
But basically, the FCI has had to adapt because the family of the FCI has grown immensely. When I first started, we were basically very few countries outside of Europe, but
Right.
On the years that went by, more and more countries were added from the other continents. And as you know, the way of doing dog breeding, dog showing, the way of looking at the dog game is totally different. And so the FCI, of course, it had to adapt, and it had some growing pains too in adapting. But but I think we did a good job. And nowadays the FCI is really a very big organization that caters for ways of doing things in many parts of the world, and that's the way it has to stay or continue to be.
Okay, but do you think we've moved away in some things whilst this family has grown, whilst we're now more global or international? Do you feel that with pressures from the outside, we have to defend strongly what we believe in rather than to promote what we're already, what we stand for?
Okay, that was the big challenge, and that was the big change, and the one we had the a lot of growing pains adapting to, because as dog people, we could not understand this at first. We could not understand this evolution, and but it's all over us, and the FCI has done a tremendous work in that direction, I think, and more and more we are becoming globally interested in the dog world as it is nowadays. So, but we have to be careful because, as you know, it's different in the different parts of the organization, and it hasn't reached all corners of the organization. So we have to adapt ourselves to that as well, and make other countries ready for what some countries have already gone through.
Absolutely.
And that is very important. The awareness that this situation exists is very important, to pass on the knowledge of this.
I think that's very well said, because eventually what started, in whichever continent will actually spread to the other. It takes a bit of time to reach South America and Asia, but I think it eventually gets there, and we face the similar challenges. Although perhaps now a bit faster as the world becomes smaller. But yeah, we do face the same challenges. So yeah, that's great. Talking of challenges, what challenges do you see? I mean, you've been involved in the dog game for a long time. What challenges do you see standing in the way for purebred pedigree dogs in 20 years' time? Where do you see us?
Well, you see, more and more we become global, and more communication has increased, and we are in immediate contact with each other from the four corners of the world. The only thing that can stop us is the hours difference. But immediately, anything that happens in Timbuktu will be known 3 hours later in Paris. So it's true. So, and this is a very powerful tool, but and very positive tool, but it's also a very dangerous tool, because we have the two situations, what comes good and what comes bad, and we have to be prepared for that, and we have to understand that we cannot hide things anymore. What happens to me today will be known immediately in China, and this is the way that we have to direct our work. And you are not anymore isolated away from the center of Europe. If you are in Japan or China or whatever, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and maybe not today or maybe tomorrow, but it will happen. And what will happen is that there is a total new way in the world of looking at dogs and of what we do, and we have to be very careful that they understand the motivations and the reasons why we do the work we do. I mean, we as breeders, dog people, judges, and all of that, because the tendency is to be seen as a fashion or something that is not needed or something like that. So the FCI has this huge challenge also to make people understand that what the FCI stands for is actually dogs. And what brings us together is the love for dogs, all of us around the world. The first thing we have together is that we love dogs. And people don't understand that. They think, oh, they're only like purebred dogs. That's not the point. That is the second thing. But of course, the FCI is an organization that has to regulate. It's not Kennel Club, it's a regulator organization. So it has the task to make the rules known and applied worldwide. And so that makes it even more difficult. But I think we're going in the right direction, and I think we have to be positive about the outcome. Of course, there's a lot of problems and a lot of dangers, and we have to face them. We have to face them very carefully.
So I guess what you're saying is to be aware of what we're up against and be prepared, rather than or to preempt it rather than let it take us by surprise. Would that be accurate?
Okay, we by surprise we will not be taken, because we can identify the problems right away. And what the FCI has been doing, and I think that is extremely positive, is that while it still regulates all the rules and little regulations and all that makes our dog world go on and be able to take place, at the same time, it is presenting an image, a different image of what the dogs are and how the way we see dogs, and that is extremely positive. And I think all kennel clubs are following this trend, and being more aware of what the general public has to understand and interpret. And the FCI has a very strong action in this area in the past years, and not years, but maybe years already. And it has brought a lot of good results, I think. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We have to do more.
We have to keep at it. I mean, it's brilliant hearing that, Carla, because maybe I'm a little bit pessimist sometimes in the way I see things. I think, oh Lord, I'm only halfway through, and it looks like things don't look rosy. But hearing that perspective, that if we did things together and we were ahead of the game, so to speak, then we can preserve this. And if we focused on love of dogs, full stop, and then pedigree dogs second. But we are a pedigree dog organization. But to get the point across that we love dogs, that's what unites us first. Whether you have it as a show dog or as a pet, I mean, it's still a pet first. It's a dog, full stop. And I think that's a very positive way to look at it. So you've given me a little bit of hope.
No, there must be hope for us, because we have a huge organization. We have so many countries and so many new countries coming. This is what I find is fantastic. Nowadays, Africa is awakening to dog world. It's marvelous. It has been asleep for a long time, and so I think it's very positive that our world is increasing. It is increasing, and people that want to do what we like to do are there and exist. So that is very positive. But we have to find our place, our right place in the nowadays society. And the only way is what we just told, is that we have to present ourselves as caring for dogs, and what are the dogs here for, and why do we have breeds, and the reason for the breeds. And also, we must transmit that we care for people that have dogs. This situation now with Ukraine, I think, has been very positive for us, because we have proved that we care for the dogs. It's not doesn't have to be pedigree dogs. Dogs are important, and that is the message that all kennel clubs have to give. My opinion, I think we have to do that, so that they respect us.
And I think a lot have, and this is adversity has shown this to come forth, and people are doing that. It's a love for all dogs and for people. Just as you said, love the people as well. We're not just about dogs, but we love the people too, and that's so important.
Of course. Of course, that is the social part. The social part is also very important, of course, but that is not the FCI problem. The FCI has other problems and has other aims. Okay, we get together as friends, people that are kennel club in the kennel club's management, and we meet every 2 years and all of that, and that's the social part. It's a lovely part of the FCI, but that's not the core of the question.
Okay. Well, Carla, thank you so much. That's been wonderful. I've loved your insight, and I said it has provided a bit of positivity for me. So that's wonderful. And I hope you've enjoyed this short chat we've had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gopi. It's no FCI.
Okay. Take care and see you soon.
See you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the last part of this interview with our FCI directors. And today it's my privilege and honor to have Senor Miguel Angel Martinez from Argentina joining us in the last part of this interview. I will be asking the questions in English and he will be replying in Spanish, but there are subtitles in English and in the other languages for those who would like to know exactly what he's saying. So, hola, Senor Miguel Angel, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, Gopi. Gracias a Dios, muy bien, bien de salud y por suerte con una vacunación completa, así que muy bien. De salud muy bien, por suerte.
Excellent. Okay, vamos a empezar. Okay, let's start, guys. How long have you been a director of the FCI?
Yo estoy en la FCI desde una Asamblea General en Bruselas en el año 1995
Okay.
Fui electo como presidente de la sección de las Américas y el Caribe, y de ahí hasta el año 2015 fui el presidente de la sección, y después, en Milano, fui electo ya dentro del Comité General de la FCI,
Okay.
y ratificado en Shanghái, y sigo siendo miembro del Comité General, que es un orgullo para mí, porque toda mi vida estuve trabajando por el bienestar de los perros y por los perros y para los perros.
And in your years in Pedigree Dogs in these 27 years and as a board member of the FCI, do you think the organization has evolved? Have we moved away from the building blocks to a more political organization to protect what we love and to continue doing that?
Es muy interesante la pregunta, realmente de una persona como vos no podía ser de otra manera. Es una pregunta que nos estamos haciendo continuamente y durante muchos años todos los perreros. Yo considero que la organización nuestra ha ido evolucionando constantemente.
Okay.
Desde que yo conocí la FCI, o cuando se empezaba a hablar de la FCI, para mí era un monstruo que estaba allá en Europa y que no la conocía nadie, y que eran 7 viejos sentados alrededor de una mesa, que la percepción que yo tenía a los 15, 16, 17 años, y que tenía todo el mundo, porque estaba muy alejada, por una cuestión geográfica también, de todos nosotros. Estaba muy alejada de América, de Asia, y estaba resguardada en Europa, como era lógico también, porque donde se desarrollaba la mayor cantidad de sinofilia era en Europa, y no había tanto conocimiento de lo que eran las demás, que ahora son secciones, las demás áreas de la FCI, que realmente estaban trabajando muy bien y de a poco formando desde abajo una nueva dirigencia y una gran cantidad de ejemplares que estaban creándose en cada país. Y eso ha ido mejorando. Yo me acuerdo cuando me hice cargo de la sección de las Américas y el Caribe, éramos 5 países, 6 países que se votaban, 10, muchos países que estaban mucho más ligados a Estados Unidos, ¿no es cierto?, en América Central y en América del Sur, algunos países, que era más importante estar más ligado a Estados Unidos por la cercanía que a la FCI. Yo creo que hice un trabajo muy importante y tuve un gran respaldo de Hans Müller, del presidente de la FCI, y empezamos a trabajar de tal manera que se empezó a hacer una sesión de las Américas y el Caribe muy trabajadora, muy profunda, y fue tomando paulatinamente todas las reglamentaciones de la FCI, todas las formas de juzgar los perros como la FCI, los 10 grupos, muchos países jugaban 6 grupos como en la AKC en aquellos tiempos, y sin embargo se fue dejando todo eso y se ingresó a la FCI con mucho brío, con mucha fuerza y con mucha dedicación. La FCI en ese momento, manejada por Hans Müller, también se abrió. Y vemos a un presidente y a muchos miembros del Comité General que empezaron a viajar a América, conocieron nuestra idiosincrasia, fueron a viajar al Asia, conocieron la idiosincrasia de Asia, veían cuál era la actividad que surgía en esos países, que estaban trabajando codo a codo con la FCI, siguiendo la reglamentación de la FCI, y así vemos cómo se fueron integrando todas las secciones nuevas, digamos, entre paréntesis, en la FCI, y hoy tenemos una sinofilia completamente desarrollada en 91 países del mundo, que ha hecho que la FCI creciera, y para crecer ha tenido que ir evolucionando, porque todo lo que no evoluciona termina retrocediendo. toda esa evolución ha hecho que muchas comisiones de la FCI han ido trabajando y aumentando y produciendo grandes cambios para que esto se transformara, el perro, en la gran ayuda al ser humano. No solamente porque todos los perros dan cariño, todos los perros son pets, pero de ahí de cuando salen de casa tienen que cumplir la función zootécnica. Y vemos que la FCI fue evolucionando con la crianza de acuerdo al estándar, pero sin olvidarse de las condiciones zootécnicas para las cuales las razas fueron criadas. Evolucionó esos conceptos. Y lo mismo pasa entre nosotros. Yo creo que el cinófilo es una persona de gran evolución, evolutivo, y que realmente, gracias a esa evolución y a ese amor hacia el animal, hacia amor hacia, en este caso, el perro, lo ha llevado a ir mejorando cada vez más. Y la FCI no se apartó, porque creó tremendas comisiones que trabajan justamente para eso. Cuando yo entré a la FCI, o hace muchos años, había pocas comisiones de caza, hay comisiones de adiestramiento, comisiones de pastoreo, comisiones de retriever, comisiones de lo que se pide, de grooming. Otra cosa importante también, que un criador sepa cómo hacer un grooming mejor a su perro. Y eso es evolución, es evolutivo. ¿Por qué? Porque el creador está mejorando. Y vemos que eso es lo que la gente ha evolucionado. Pues dice, no me quiero quedar acá. Quiero evolucionar para tener algo mejor. Y esa evolución a través de 15.000 años de historia nos ha llevado a tener la FCI que tenemos hoy y que políticamente ha trabajado muy bien, si se puede decir políticamente. Y esa política que ha sido política sinófila, no confundamos políticas con políticas, política sinófila. La política sinófila es importante porque es lo que nos lleva a evolucionar.
Perfecto. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Perfect answer. Wow. Okay. I've got a lot to take from that. One final question. What challenges do you see standing in the way of pedigree dogs? Where do you see us in 20 years' time?
Pienso que nos espera un buen futuro. Pienso que los perros van a seguir creciendo porque la gente necesita tener un animal en la casa para tener el poco contacto de la naturaleza que puede tener, lo hace a través de un perro. Sabe que tiene un compañero fiel, sabe que también es un integrante más de la familia. Hoy tener un perro sabemos que es una responsabilidad.
Claro.
Tener un perro no es llevarlo de vacaciones y después tirarlo, ¿no es cierto? O comprar un perro por moda y después no saber cómo sacárselo de encima. No, cuando se compra un perro se compra con responsabilidad. Por eso es tan importante el bienestar animal. Por eso tenemos que trabajar en los próximos años inculcándonos a los nuevos compradores, porque lo que ya tenemos perros, los criamos, los queremos, tenemos. Pero cada vez que un criador cría un perro y se va a manos de otra persona, imbuirlo de eso, de tener la responsabilidad, que cuando se compra un perro se está comprando la responsabilidad. Que si vive en un departamento y llueve, hay que ponerse el impermeable y sacarlo al perro a hacer pipí a dar una vuelta. Entonces, todo eso yo creo que es el gran trabajo que tenemos en adelante, pero pienso que las exposiciones van a seguir creciendo, ya sea por la crianza sí va a seguir creciendo, las exposiciones habrá con perros más, con perros menos, pero van a seguir creciendo, va a seguir creciendo el número de exposiciones, va a seguir creciendo el número de países que quieran ingresar a la FCI, no me cabe ninguna duda. Somos, como yo siempre digo, somos una pequeña Naciones Unidas, porque somos 91 países distintos. Y sin embargo convivimos todos juntos bajo un bajo un objetivo, que es la crianza de perros y el bienestar animal y el trabajo con los perros para mantener sus condiciones zootécnicas. Todo eso hace que yo piense que la cinofilia va a seguir creciendo y vamos a tener en los próximos 20 años. Pienso que con la nueva teoría y la nueva trabajo que está organizando la FCI a través de comisiones y a través de prensa y difusión y a través de esto, eso que es tan importante que hay que seguir manteniendo, va a seguir creciendo mucho.
Perfecto. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Señor Miguel Ángel, for your beautiful insight into your thoughts on these questions that I've had. And we really thank you for having shared your time with us today and given us some insight into your thoughts. So thank you very much once again. I hope you've enjoyed it and take care and hope to see you sometime soon.
Thank you, Gopi. Take care.